Welcome to Lesson 73 of Saxon's Course 2. In this lesson we're going to multiply and divide positive and negative numbers. We're going to divide positive and negative numbers, and we're going to learn the rules for multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers. Alright, we have no new vocabulary, so let's get started. So first of all, let's just take a look at how we can see this as far as a number line goes. If we're multiplying, say, a negative 3 times a negative 3, that would mean, if we broke that down, it would mean the same thing as negative 3 plus negative 3. So you can see that 2 times a negative 3 would equal a negative 6. And there's a couple ways you can look at that. As you come down here, the illustration shows that 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. It also shows that if negative 6 is divided by 2 into two equal parts, that you'd get negative 3, because if you take a negative 6 and cut it in half, you have a negative 3 and a negative 3. So negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. We can also show that the number of 3's in negative 6 is 2 by doing the same thing, dividing. If we take negative 3 and divide it into negative 6, we know that that's 2. In other words, how many negative 3's will fit into negative 6? Well, 2 will. I know that's a little bit confusing, but you'll get the hang of it as we get through and we learn these rules. So what happens if we multiply two negative numbers together, such as negative 2 and negative 3? Well, we can read negative 2 and negative 3 as the opposites of 2 times negative 3. Since 2 times negative 3 equals negative 6, then the opposites of 2 times negative 3 equals 6. So when we have two positives, or two negatives that we multiply together, they become positive. And I think most of you know these rules, and this should be reviewed, but we've got to go over them again. So rule number 1 is that if the two numbers in multiplication or division problems have the same sign, the answer is always going to be positive. So if it's negative times negative, or negative divided by negative, it's positive. Or if it's positive or positive, it's going to be positive. But if the signs are different, then it's always going to be a negative answer. So if you had this or you had this, then they're going to be negative. So let's look at this first one. What is positive 6 times a positive 2? That's positive 12, because two positives make a positive. And you know that 6 times 2 is 12. So what is negative 6 times negative 2? Is that going to be positive or is that going to be negative? Both the signs are the same. If you come up here, you can see they're both the same. So it's going to be positive. It's going to be positive 12. How about the next one? Negative 6 plus or times a positive 2. Those signs are different. So is it going to be positive or negative? It's going to be a negative 12. And a positive 6 times a negative 2, same thing, it's going to be a negative 12. Now let's look at division. If we're dividing two positives, what's our answer going to be, positive or negative? It's going to be positive, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. If we divide two negatives, are those signs the same or different? They're the same, so our answer is going to be positive. And what's 6 divided by 2? It's 3. So again, that's a positive 3. And then if we have two signs that are separate, different, negative and a positive, then our answer is going to be a negative 3. And same thing here, it's just to mix the numbers. 6 divided by negative 2 is still going to be a negative 3. All right, so this is the thing you got to remember up here. Remember these rules. If they're the same, they're positive. If they're different, they're negative. So let's look at this. See if you can figure out A, B, C, and D. Pause it, solve it, work them please, and then restart the video and see if you got it right. First of all, just tell me, is A going to be positive or negative? It's going to be positive. Is B going to be positive or negative? It's going to be negative. Is C going to be positive or negative? It's going to be negative. Is D going to be positive or negative? It's going to be positive. All right, and the reason why is because we know that we have same signs or we have different signs. So let's look at our answer. So A is 3. It's a positive 3, because 3 negative 4's go into negative 12. And here 4 divided into negative 2.4 is negative 0.06. 6 times negative 3, because they're different signs, they're going to be negative, and 6 times 3 is 18. So that's how we get our answer there. And then here 1/2 times 1/2, because they're both negative, it's going to be positive. 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4, so it's a positive 1/4. Hopefully you got all 4 of those right. That is it. We'll do a lot of this. You got to know this skill. So Go ahead and do your TIDs 1, 5, 9, A, B, C, and D. Write down any questions you have. Thank you for watching the video, and we'll see you tomorrow when we do math in class.